everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're going back to Scream territory, folks, for the brand new Scream film. But before we get into it, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe. I greatly would appreciate that. All right, we're here to talk about Scream 7. I did not do an out-of-theater reaction for this one. This is the second time I've seen it before I'm actually recording this review that you're watching now. I saw it on Friday. Me, Dale_A, my wife and his wife took a trip down to Wilmington. Me and Dale were going to do, which I will be coming out with soon, location videos for different movies, The Black Phone and Scream 5. And I have a short video for Weekend at Bernie's. But Friday was a washout. It was raining all day. We couldn't really do that. It wasn't a good day for shooting any footage. So we decided, hey, we're going to go see Scream 7. We had already planned to go today, which is Sunday, although this video will come out on Monday, to take the kids to see it because my son Troy's a huge Scream fan. He wanted to see it. His buddy Owen was going to go see it. And then Dale's son Reed was going to go see it, which we did take him today. So I got to see it twice before we discuss it right now. So there's going to be spoilers. I'm not going to spoil the killers so much, but I am going to talk about spoilers here. So if you haven't seen the film yet, I would suggest skipping this review and come back after you get to see the new Scream movie. So, right at the beginning of the film, and I think this is a very strong opening. We see this young couple was in the trailer, show up at the Stu Macher house. Okay? And it's turned into basically a true crime Airbnb. There's body outlines on the floor from where Billy Loomis was killed, and Amber and Richie, and even Stu Macher with the TV still there. There's an automated Ghostface in the living room that scares the girl, the woman who's with this guy, and the real Ghostface shows up. And it's a really strong opening. It's well staged, it's well executed, it gets you primed, and basically sets the tone for the rest of the movie. And I will say, there was an interview with Kevin Williamson where he said they toned down the violence. I would actually say up front that this is probably the goriest Scream movie that we've had. They actually went a lot harder than I was anticipating. And I was there for it, man. I was there for it. So right after this scene, both of them get killed and Ghostface burns the house to the ground. And then we're reintroduced to Sydney. She's living in Pine Grove, Indiana, I do believe, with her husband, played by Joel McHale, playing a straight man this time. There's no jokes, really. He's playing a straight man. He's pretty good here as a straight man. Isabel May plays her daughter Tatum. Her other two kids are off at Grandma's house. And pretty soon Ghostface rears his ugly head and she starts getting phone calls from Stu Macher saying he's back and he's going to make her pay. So they go into like AI and all this stuff. And the kills, there's a cool set piece in the school theater. They're practicing. McKenna Grace is in this movie, and she plays this character. She's up on these wires, and her and the kid are practicing for the play how to get it right so she's not like out of control. And Ghostface shows up and kills her in a really cool scene, very well shot by Kevin Williamson. And again, gory, I would say. This is probably one of the hardest hitting Scream movies we've had thus far. I know 6 was gory, but this one, the kills themselves are pretty damn gory. Where 6, I feel like the aftermaths were pretty gory, and there was some definitely gore on the screen. I think this one goes a little harder, though, and God bless Kevin Williamson for going hard. And then, now Sydney's back in it, and then they get attacked at home by a Ghostface, but Ghostface gets killed when Gail and the twins from Part 5 and Part 6 show up. Yes, Mindy and Chad are back, and they're working for Gail Weathers, as Chad's her cameraman, and Mindy is her producer. And Gail shows up, they kill that Ghostface. And it's just this random guy that Sydney had seen earlier in the day getting coffee. She owns a coffee shop in this small town where they live. And they trace him back to this mental institution that's about an hour or two away from where they live, or she lives. So her and Gail go off, and this is where we see Ethan Embry. He's in this movie, making his transformation into Clint Howard, apparently. He looks very much like Clint Howard, kind of. But that's not a knock on him, but he just reminded me of Clint Howard for some reason. And they find out that he wasn't a patient there, and she shows him a screenshot of Stu Macher. He goes, yeah, that's our John Doe. He was let go like a couple months ago. So they're feeding into, is Stu really alive? Although everybody assumes he's dead, but is he back? Is it possible? So we get that, and once the movie gets going, I mean, there's a lot of kills and a lot of Ghostface action. And I will say, well, let's go on with this, and I'll get into what the meta-ness of it next. I think they did something a little different with this one. I know they say it every time, but this one feels a little different in the terms of what this movie actually is compared to the rest of the franchise. And actually, in my mind anyway, there's a lot of opinions online, and some people liked it, some people hated it. There's people that I really respect on the YouTube scene that didn't like it really all that much, but you know, we'll see how I feel at the end of this review. So we get this cool scene in this bar, and probably one of the more creative kills we've had in this whole franchise takes place. And then we get our final confrontation. Like, there's a long chase scene with Tatum, and it's a really good chase scene. It's well shot, well executed. And they do something like Ghostface we'll get into after I get through the plot. And then finally we have the final confrontation at Sydney's house. And the killers are revealed, which I'm not going to spoil that. And they dispatch of the killers, and Sydney's has a happy ending. And we get a nice moment with her and Gail, and with her and her daughter. Because when we meet, she's having like a rough patch with her daughter. Her daughter really wants to know about her past. And Sydney even tells her, like, look, you can watch the movies, do a deep dive, there's documentaries, you can find out anything you want. But her daughter wants to hear it from her. She wants to hear it firsthand from her mother. And Sydney is not ready to share that or willing to share that with her daughter. And I think that dynamic works really well. I like the way Neve Campbell and Isabella May play off each other. And, you know, she's a teenager, so she's curious, but also she has the whole hormone. So, you know, she can go from zero, like, quiet to very loud because she's frustrated with her mother. And we do see that throughout the film. And I think Neve Campbell and Isabella May do a really good job playing mother and daughter in this film. And Joel McHale's great as the husband. This is a straight part for him, with one of the few he's ever played. I was waiting for him to crack a joke, but he never does. But he's good here as a straight man. He's a chief of police in town, and he's been married to Sydney for a long time. So once we wrap up, let's go into some of my favorite things. And I do have some problems with it. The movie's not perfect. I think that the opening is very strong. I love the opening to this film. It's probably in my top 3 Scream openings now. I think that the scene in Sydney's house where he comes out of the attic, it's in the trailer. That's a pretty well done scene. And when they kill Ghostface that quickly, even Sydney says this was too easy. And just as this random guy, which we find out was in the insane asylum, which we find out that one of the killers turned him into like going after Sydney and his family. But he was like the patsy, like there's 2 other killers. So they were the ones masterminding this whole thing. And there's a monologue at the end, but I will say they do tone down the meta-ness. There is a little bit of meta-ness here. And it's mostly from Mindy when she hits the scene, but it's not overbearing like I think Mindy was in part 6. It's more subdued, and even chat calls her out on it, saying, like, we're not doing this anymore. But there is a little bit of meta-ness there. Where the reflections of the franchise come in is with Sydney, her daughter. Her daughter comes down at one point to go to school, and she's wearing the leather jacket Sydney wore in part 2 at college. And Sydney has she's taken back by it, that she would go through her stuff, and she thought she got rid of it. And you can see that on the look of Neve Campbell's face, the memories of part 2 coming back to her. Definitely a love letter to the first Scream movie and the Stab movies. And then Sydney trying to move on with her life, get out of the spotlight. She's running this little coffee shop. She's married to the chief of police. She's not writing books anymore. She's just trying to raise her family in this little town, and she wants to stay out of the spotlight. And now she's thrust back into it. And, you know, we get the swarming reporters, as we've always had in all these movies. But I think where the movie shines is the set pieces. I gotta say, I had a lot of fun with this movie. And I think there's some really fabulous set pieces in this film. And they utilize Ghostface really well. And there's some shots in this movie, one shot in particular, and it's right in the beginning of the film, where they treat Ghostface like Michael Myers. If you remember in Halloween 1, when Jamie or Laurie Strode backs up when she finds the bodies of her friends in the house across the street, and she backs up to that doorway, and you see Michael Myers' mask get illuminated just a little bit to let you know he's standing right behind her. They do something similar in this movie, and I thought it was really well done, and a nice homage to Halloween, which I know Kevin Williamson's a huge fan of John Carpenter's Halloween. They also put Ghostface more just creeping in the background. You can see him in shots, very Michael Myers-esque. Not that we haven't seen that in the past, but not like this. Like, even the original film, he would just pop out quicker in the trees behind Tatum and Sydney talking on the front porch, or in the store. Here he's just kind of like just slowly moving around in the background. And I appreciated that. It's just a nice touch. And the other thing they do with this movie that makes it a little different, I think, from the rest of the Scream films, they toned down the meta-ness. I feel they did. I mean, it's there, you get it, but it's not like thrown in your face like it is in the other films, which is what this franchise has been built off of. It's there in little increments, but what this movie reminded me of, it turns into more about basically a meat and potatoes slasher film from the 80s, where it doesn't really matter. I mean, there is that whodunnitness, who's due to killings, But they're throwing red herrings at you, the audience, left and right. I mean, the boyfriend, this kid that lives next door looks creepy as shit. Some of her friends, but they start killing these people off pretty fast and furious. So anybody they're setting up for a red herring is getting butchered pretty quickly after they're setting them up as a red herring. So this kind of reminded me more of like a Friday the 13th movie or one of the later Halloween movies where we're just getting to business, man. We set it up, we're back with Sydney, we establish her family, and then we're just killing people left and right. And it does come fast and furious once the movie gets going. We have a little bit of downtime setting up Sydney and her family after the initial opening, which again I think is very strong. And then we do the setup of, you know, Tatum's friends and the town, and then we're off to the races. Once that theater scene hits, it goes pretty quick after that in succession. And the Stu Macher stuff is well done. We find out that it's not really Stu Macher, it's AI. Somebody's using AI to make Sydney think that it's Stu Macher. And at the end in the house, when she goes back to the house to save her daughter, the TV comes on. It's a video of Stu Macher. We get Mrs. Loomis from the second one. We get Scott Foley from the third one. And we see Dewey. But it's all AI to mess with Sydney. And I really like that angle. They don't explore it as much as I thought they would. They mention it and they utilize it, but they don't really go into it all that much other than that. So I guess that could be a complaint. They could have went into that a little bit more. It's an interesting angle to take, where the killer's making the victim think somebody's back when they're really not. But I like that mystery because when I first watched this on Friday, I thought maybe Stu is here. Maybe he's going to show up. He doesn't, but they make you think that he possibly could the first time you watch this. And we all know Matthew Lillard was involved in the production, if you're a fan and you've been following this. So anything was possible. So it was kind of a surprise when it wasn't him, but he does make an appearance several times through the movie, talking directly to Sydney about what he's going to do and how pissed he is and all this stuff. The downside is, I'll say, I think the gore is really well done. Again, I think this is the goriest one of the franchise. I don't know. It seemed it. There's some really good gore stuff here. A little bit of CGI didn't look great, but the practical stuff looked awesome. I think the acting's pretty good across the board. I think Neve Campbell's great here. She's great here. She's been through the whole franchise when she showed up. And this is definitely her movie. It's her and her daughter's movie. Everybody else gets time to shine here. Gail gets her moments. The twins are there. I mean, they're not too heavily involved, but they're there, and they have more to do as the movie goes on, and their part is done. But they're still around to come on back for part 8, which I hope so. I like those characters. And I like that they toned down Mindy a little bit. We didn't need that again the third time around, so I appreciate it. They do reference part 6 a couple times during the film. It gets brought up, like, why wasn't Sydney in New York? It gets brought up 2 or 3 times. They do reference it, so they don't ignore part 6 whatsoever. And they reference part 5, and they reference some of the other ones. So it's not like they're ignoring 5 and 6 here, because those, Radio Silence isn't involved with this one. They were busy directing Ready or Not Part 2, which I can't wait for that one. But anyway, I think the problems with this movie is, does it get a little convoluted? Of course it does. It's a Scream movie. There are some logic gaps, and there's definitely some plot armor. There's a character in particular, Sydney's husband, who is major plot armor. And we saw that in part 6 with Chad, where he got stabbed like 30 times and he survived. This one, her husband should be dead, no doubt. And for somehow, he was stabbed multiple times in his garage, left for dead, and at the end of the movie we have our climax. They drag him out and he's still alive, and he's been bleeding this whole time from multiple stab wounds. There's no effing way he would have survived. But I had good enough time with it where I could just roll my eyes at it like, okay, he's coming back for the next one if they make one, which they probably will, because this movie's making mucho dollars at the box office. And then there's always the plot hole of, there's a scene which is a really effective scene, but Tatum is trapped in Sydney's office at her coffee shop. And she shoots through the wall. This is in the trailer. Hits Ghostface. He goes down. Now, Sydney could have called the cops and told them to get to her coffee shop. They never call the cops again. There's a point where the cops are involved pretty heavily through about half of the movie. And then once we get into the second half of the movie, the cops disappear until the end of the movie after the killers are killed and they're showing up to sweep up the bodies. So I thought that was a bizarre choice, and it just didn't make a whole lot of sense why she wouldn't call the cops when Sydney's pretty practical in these situations. But that does happen. So yeah, I don't understand why they couldn't just show her calling the cops. And even if the cops don't get there, you can go on with the rest of the scene. But she never makes an attempt to contact the cops whatsoever. At the end of the day, I'm going to wrap this up. I enjoyed myself with this one. I think this is a strong entry in the Scream franchise. I will be releasing a new ranking video for this whole franchise coming out in a couple days. I didn't record that yet. I'm still mulling over where I want to stick part 7 in my franchise ranking. I like this one. I like this one a lot. I had a lot of fun with it. I'm glad I got to see it twice. Troy liked it to give it an 8 out of 10. Reed and Owen give it an 8.5 out of 10. So I'm going to give Scream 7 an 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed this. I had a blast with it. I'm not tired of this franchise. I know some other people are. I thought this was an interesting concept of just going for the meat and potato slasher angle. At least that's how I feel this came off as. And we get a lot of callbacks. There's a lot of nostalgia bait here. I won't deny that. There is. But I felt this was a pretty fun sequel. And I'm happy it's making money. And I hope we get a part 8. So yeah, 8.5 out of 10 for Scream 7. Have you seen this one yet? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up, the subscribe button, share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. That is it for this video. I'll be back soon with a Scream ranking video. I'll have those location videos out sometime very soon. But until next time,